Mercedes has been plagued by porpoising this season, and Lewis Hamilton has struggled more than teammate George Russell, who currently sits 6th in the standings with only 50 points. He finished 3rd in the season's first race in Bahrain, but has had some terrifying moments since then. In Saudi Arabia, he was eliminated in Q1, and at Emilia Romagna, he was lapped by race winner and 2021 title rival Max Verstappen. The 7-time world champion was then clipped by Esteban Ocon early in the Monaco Grand Prix, adding to his frustration. He finished 8th after failing to overtake old rival Fernando Alonso. Meanwhile, Ferrari has been energized by the new technical regulations introduced into the sport this year. Despite suffering in the last 3 races, Charles Leclerc is 2nd in the championship, just 9 points behind Verstappen, and appears to be poised to mount a serious title challenge. Hamilton, 37, has always expressed his admiration for Ferrari, but in an interview with Corriere della Sera, he responded to a question about racing for them by pointing to his loyalty tattoo on his arm. Of course, it would be nice to race for Ferrari during my career, but things happen because of a reason. Mercedes is my family. I will always be a Mercedes driver, just like Sterling Moss. However, the British driver admitted that he was rooting for the Scuderia, and in particular, Leclerc in the current title race. Anyway, I would add one thing. If I could sit with the fans over there, I would support Charles. I'm a Ferrari fan. Meanwhile, world champion Jenson Button has asked whether Lewis Hamilton believes his career is over and plans to retire from F1 soon, with the 7-time world champion still unable to extract the best out of his Mercedes through the opening 7 races. This season, Hamilton has found himself in the unusual position of being unable to compete for race wins, with Mercedes trailing Red Bull and Ferrari. Hamilton has stated unequivocally that he supports the team's strategy and believes that Mercedes will soon reach a tipping point in the development of the W13. However, in the first few races, the 37-year-old has been scrapping in the midfield. While Hamilton has struggled to compete for race victories, he has also fallen behind new teammate George Russell. The young British driver has beaten Hamilton in 6 of the last 7 races and is already 34 points ahead of his countryman in the Drivers' Championship. It's new territory for Hamilton, who has spent his entire F1 career competing at the front. Button, who worked with Hamilton at McLaren for 3 years, believes Mercedes' problems have surprised his former teammate. And the 42-year-old wonders if Hamilton is now considering a career outside of Formula 1. I think the big shift for Lewis is he's driving a car that isn't competitive in his world. He's been fighting for the World Championship since 2014, and his teammate has come, young upstart George Russell, and he's been competitive. Because George is driving a car that's actually better than he was used to at Williams, it's given him confidence, and he can push a bit harder. Whereas Lewis has probably not got so much confidence in the car to be able to extract the maximum out of it, and when you've had a few bad races, it hurts mentally. This is a mental sport, it's not just physical. Lewis, as we all know, is one of the best in the world, if not the best in the world at driving a Formula 1 car. He'll be competitive again, if he wants to be. That's the thing. Maybe he thinks his career is over and wants to go do something else. Who knows? But Lewis, if he has a car that's good enough to win, he will win races. Hamilton asked by Sky Sports F1 what the most difficult aspect of Friday's 2 sessions in Azerbaijan were. Hamilton simply replied, "Bouncing." Asked if he's alright, the 7-time world champion added, "I'll get by. I'm a bit sore, but yeah, we're hitting some serious speeds at the end here, and it's bouncing a lot." Hamilton also commented on the disparity in performance between the 2 sessions, finishing P6 in FP1 and P12 in FP2. "We tried something experimental on my car, and it didn't feel that great, to be honest. But at least we tried it and got some data on it, and now we'll go through it. For tomorrow, we'll probably revert back to what we changed. Tires feel to us like they're working well. No issues. I just can't really tell you. We're 1.6 seconds or 1.3 seconds behind or whatever it is. That's a long way away. A lot of it is on the straights. It was a tricky day. We weren't competitive as we'd have liked. It's a tricky track to get the tires in the right window. A number of drivers, their fastest laps are coming right at the end of the run. Whereas with Ferrari and Red Bull, they seem to be able to turn it on. At the moment, they seem to have an inherently faster car than us. We're doing everything we can to catch up. I think the tires are making life difficult. Even if we're totally on top of the tires, we're definitely not going to fully close that gap. They're just too far ahead. That's 50% of our issue. The rest is just the lack of performance we have at the moment. Meanwhile, former W Series driver Naomi Schiff of Sky Sports F1 said of Mercedes porpoising, "It's uncomfortable. Luckily, I've not really had to deal with it. But clearly all the comments are saying that drivers are suffering. And you saw it from Lewis. His back is hurting." For visibility as well, it's not great. It's more frustrating because I think really at this point, they want to be steering away from this issue and starting to focus on their real overall setup. I think that's the bigger issue. They haven't been able to solve it, and there is supposed potential in the car, and it still hasn't been unleashed. It is safe to say that Mercedes' continued struggles are a major disappointment for both Mercedes drivers following the mirage that was the Spanish Grand Prix. Nonetheless, not everyone has written them off, and even Red Bull, their 2021 championship rival, has changed their tune. The most notable example is Red Bull's chief advisor, Helmut Marko. Marko believes Lewis Hamilton is still in the title race, despite his claims that the 7-time champion should have retired from F1. He has warned Mercedes are getting faster every day, and warned teams shouldn't write them off as title challengers. Their car is getting faster every day. From the top times, they are already at our level or even better. So you really shouldn't write them off. If Mercedes suddenly dominates everything again, then Hamilton will be back too. When asked if he thought Red Bull had already won the championship, Marko dismissed the remark as nonsense. Marko went on to say to OE24, "I just did the maths. We still have 15 races ahead of us. Even Russell is just 41 points behind Verstappen. Everything is still possible there." His remarks about Hamilton come just weeks after Marko said the 7-time champion should consider retiring after finishing outside the top 10 at Imola. At the time, Marko stated, "I mean, he was lapped by us, so maybe he should have stopped last year, he's thinking maybe." After the race, Hamilton appeared to address the comments indirectly, posting on social media that only he will know when his masterpiece is complete. A week later in Miami, Hamilton addressed the comments head-on, claiming they were disrespectful, but he used them as fuel. He said, "I take that as fuel. I'm putting that into the pot, and I'm going to turn that into a positive, and I'm going to come back stronger. We are going to come back stronger as a team." What are your thoughts on Lewis Hamilton's situation at Mercedes?